I woke up at 6:30 on Thanksgiving morning to a silence so complete it felt like the house had stopped breathing. The clock radio glowed green in the darkness of my room, and I lay there for a moment, staring at the ceiling, listening for the usual sounds. The toilet running in the hall bathroom, kids arguing over who got the shower first, Marjorie, my mother, banging pots in the kitchen while she complained about how nobody appreciated her cooking. Nothing. I sat up, swung my legs over the side of the bed, and reached for my jeans on the chair. The fabric was cold. Everything in my room was cold. I had the smallest bedroom in the house, the one that used to be a walk-in pantry before someone knocked out a wall and stuck a window in it. 8 feet by 10 feet, just enough space for a twin bed, a cheap dresser, and a pile of repair manuals I kept stacked against the wall. My tools lived in a plastic bin under the bed because there was nowhere else to put them. I walked barefoot down the hallway, past the empty bedrooms. Noah and Lauren's door was open. Their bed was made, which was unusual. The kids' room, where all 4 of them slept in bunk beds and a trundle, was also empty. Toys were gone. The suitcases that usually lived in the corner were missing. In the kitchen, I found the coffee maker still warm, a half-full pot sitting on the burner. Someone had made coffee hours ago and left it. There was a note on the counter, written in Marjorie's handwriting on the back of a grocery receipt. Colin, we're in Hawaii for the week. You know how to hold down the fort. Keep the heat at 65. Don't touch the thermostat. M. Before we go any further, take a second to subscribe, hit the hype button, and like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And tell us in the comments, what would you do in this situation? I stood there holding the note, reading it 3 times, trying to make sense of it. Hawaii, for the week, Thanksgiving week. They had packed up, bought plane tickets, flown across the Pacific Ocean, and nobody had mentioned it to me, not once. I opened my phone and scrolled through the family group chat. There it was, buried under 200 messages I had not bothered to read over the past month. A thread from 3 weeks ago where Marjorie had announced the trip. Noah had responded with excited emojis. Lauren had posted a countdown. The kids, or at least Noah typing for them, had added pictures of palm trees and beaches. Nobody had asked if I was coming. Nobody had even checked to see if I had noticed. At the bottom of the thread, posted just a few hours earlier, there was a photo. Marjorie, Noah, Lauren, and the 4 kids stood in front of a resort lobby with leis around their necks. The caption said, "Finally got away from the burdens holding us back. Aloha from paradise." I put the phone down on the counter very carefully, like it might explode if I moved too fast. My chest felt tight. My hands were shaking, and I did not know if it was anger or humiliation or something else. I walked through the house again, slower this time, looking at the rooms with new eyes. The living room couch where I slept when the kids were too loud and I had to work early. The dining table I had repaired twice after Noah broke it during one of his parties. The water heater in the basement I had replaced last winter with my own paycheck because Marjorie said we could not afford a plumber. The roof shingles I had patched in the spring, the cracked driveway I had filled with cheap concrete mix on a Saturday afternoon while everyone else went to the movies. This house. I had lived here my entire life. Paid bills here, fixed things here, raised my son here or tried to, back when I was too young to know what I was doing. And now they had left me behind like a piece of furniture. I made myself a cup of coffee from the lukewarm pot and sat at the table. My phone buzzed with a calendar reminder. Meeting, A. Price, Estate Papers, 9 a.m. Monday. I stared at the reminder. I had set it 6 months ago and kept postponing it. Alden Price was the lawyer who had handled my grandmother's estate when she passed away 8 years ago. He had left me a voicemail every year around the holidays, asking if I wanted to review the documentation and clarify the status of the property. I always told him I was too busy. I always assumed Marjorie had everything handled. But sitting there in the empty kitchen with the Thanksgiving turkey I had been planning to cook still frozen in the basement freezer, I felt something shift inside me. It was not rage. It was colder than that. It was clarity. I finished my coffee, rinsed the cup, and set it in the sink. Then I walked back to my room, knelt down beside the bed, and pulled out the metal lockbox I kept hidden under a stack of old work boots. The lock was stiff. I had not opened it in years. Inside were papers I had signed when I was 20, shortly after my grandmother passed away. Legal documents with phrases I had not understood at the time. A copy of her will, a title transfer form with my name typed at the top. My own signature at the bottom, neat and careful, the way I used to write before I stopped caring about anything except getting through the day. I did not read all of it, not yet, but I stared at my name on those pages, and I realized something I should have understood a long time ago. I had been acting like I had no power, like I was stuck, like I owed them everything, but I had never actually checked if that was true. I closed the lockbox and slid it back under the bed. Then I pulled up Alden Price's contact information on my phone and stared at the number for a long time. Later that day, I went to work. Thanksgiving shift at the factory was triple pay, and I had volunteered for it weeks ago, back when I thought I would be spending the holiday alone anyway. The plant was nearly empty, just me and a skeleton crew keeping the machines running while everyone else carved turkeys and watched football. Rick Dalton, my supervisor, stopped by around noon. He leaned against the doorway of the maintenance workshop and grinned at me. "Hart, you actually showed up?" "Yes, sir." "Nobody to go home to, huh?" He laughed and glanced at the two other guys on shift, who smirked but did not say anything. Guess it's better than sitting around feeling sorry for yourself. I did not answer. I just kept my eyes on the machine I was repairing, a conveyor motor that had been making a grinding noise since Tuesday. Rick watched me for a minute, then wandered off. Manny Ortiz, one of the younger techs, came over after Rick left. He handed me a sandwich wrapped in foil. "My wife made extra. Figured you might not have anything." "Thanks. You okay, man?" "Yeah." Manny did not believe me, but he did not push. He just nodded and went back to his station. I worked until 6, then clocked out and drove home. The house was still empty. I heated up some leftover soup and ate it standing at the counter. Then I went to my room, sat on the edge of the bed, and rested my hand on the lockbox again. My phone buzzed. Another message in the group chat. Another photo from Hawaii. Another caption about finally relaxing. I turned off the phone and stared at the wall. Tomorrow, I would call Alden Price. Tomorrow, I would start asking questions. But tonight, I just sat there in the silence, and for the first time in years, I let myself feel angry. I was not always this small. There was a time, maybe when I was 16 or 17, when I thought I could be something. I had good grades in high school, at least until everything fell apart. I liked machines. I liked figuring out how things worked. My teacher said I had a future in engineering if I wanted it. Then I got a girl pregnant, and the future I had been imagining disappeared overnight. Marjorie, my mother, made sure I understood what that meant. She sat me down at the kitchen table the day I told her, and she did not yell or cry or throw things. She just looked at me with this cold, disappointed expression and said, "You had one job, Colin. One job. Don't ruin your life, and you couldn't even do that." I was 17. The girl, a classmate whose name I will not write here because it does not matter anymore, did not want to keep the baby. But Marjorie did. She said it was her grandchild, her legacy, and that I owed it to her to step up and be a man. So I stepped up. I dropped out of community college after one semester. I got a job at the factory as a maintenance apprentice, working 10-hour shifts and learning how to fix industrial equipment. I brought home every paycheck and handed it to Marjorie, who said she would manage the money for Noah's sake. Noah, my son. I loved him. I still love him, even now. But I was a kid raising a kid, and Marjorie never let me forget it. She made every decision. She told me what diapers to buy, what formula to use, when to put him to bed. When I tried to do things my own way, she told me I was doing it wrong. When I worked late and missed bedtime, she told me I was a bad father. When I stayed home and tried to help, she told me I was in her way. By the time Noah was 5, I had stopped trying to be his father. I became the guy who fixed things and paid bills. Marjorie raised him. She told him stories about me, stories I only learned later, stories about how I had ruined her life, how I was too weak to make anything of myself, how he should be grateful she was there to save him from ending up like me. Noah grew up believing those stories. He looked at me the way you look at a broken appliance, something useful when it works, but not worth much attention. At the factory, things were not much better. I was good at my job. I kept machines running that should have been replaced years ago. I figured out fixes that saved the company thousands of dollars. But Rick, my supervisor, never acknowledged it. He took credit for my ideas in meetings with upper management. He wrote me up for being late even when I stayed 2 hours past my shift to finish a repair. He talked to me like I was lazy, stupid, expendable. And I let him. I let all of them treat me that way because I did not know how to fight back. I did not know what fighting back even looked like. One night, about 2 years ago, I went to a bar near the factory with Manny. We had just finished a double shift, and he insisted on buying me a beer. We sat in a booth near the back, and he asked me why I never stood up for myself. "What do you mean?" I said. "Rick treats you like garbage, man. You know that, right?" "That's just how he is." "No, that's how he is with you. He doesn't talk to me like that. He doesn't talk to Eddie or Luis like that, just you." I did not answer. I just stared at my beer. "You're the best tech we have," Manny said. "You know that, right? You could work anywhere. You don't have to put up with this." "I'm fine." "You're not fine. You look like you're barely holding it together." I wanted to tell him he was wrong. I wanted to tell him I was doing okay, that I had a plan, that things would get better. But I did not have a plan. I had never had a plan. I had just been surviving, one day at a time, waiting for someone to tell me I was worth something. At home, things got worse after Noah got married. Lauren, his wife, moved into the house with him. They had 1 kid, then 2, then 3, then 4, all in the span of 6 years. The house got louder. The bills got higher. And somehow, it all became my responsibility. Marjorie stopped working entirely. She said she was retired, even though she was only 52 and had never had a real job in the first place. She spent her days watching television, going to lunch with her friends, and complaining about how hard it was to manage the house. Noah and Lauren treated me like a live-in babysitter. They dropped the kids off with me every Friday night so they could go out. They left dishes in the sink for me to wash. They borrowed my truck and returned it with an empty gas tank. When I asked them to help with the bills, Noah laughed and said, "Why would I pay rent in my own house?" His own house. That was what he called it. Like I was just a guest. Marjorie backed him up. She told me I should be grateful they let me stay. She said I could not afford my own place, that I would end up homeless without her, that the house was in her name, and I had no say in anything. I believed her. Why would not I? She had spent my entire life telling me I was nothing, and everyone around me seemed to agree. But sitting in that kitchen on Thanksgiving morning, looking at the note she had left behind, I felt something crack. It was small at first, just a hairline fracture in the foundation of everything I had believed about myself. But it was there. I remembered my grandmother. She had been the only person who ever treated me like I mattered. She told me I was smart. She told me I could be anything I wanted. When she got sick, she made me promise I would take care of myself, that I would not let Marjorie run my life. I had broken that promise. I had let Marjorie run everything, but maybe it was not too late to fix it. That night, after I got home from work, I opened the lockbox again and pulled out the papers. I did not understand half of what I was reading, but I saw my grandmother's name. I saw my name. I saw phrases like transferred title and primary beneficiary and revocable authority. I took a picture of every page and saved them to a folder on my phone. Then I closed the box and sat there for a long time, thinking about the meeting with Alden Price that I had been avoiding for 8 years. Tomorrow was Monday. Tomorrow I would go. Monday morning, I called in sick to work. It was the first time I had used a sick day in over 2 years, and Rick sounded suspicious when I told him I was not coming in. "You better not be faking, Hart. We've got a backlog." "I'm not faking. If I find out you're lying, you're off the schedule next week." I hung up before he could say anything else. Alden Price's office was in a strip mall on the east side of town, wedged between a tax preparation service and a chiropractor. The waiting area was small and smelled like old coffee. A receptionist who looked about 60 glanced up from her computer and asked if I had an appointment. "Yes, Colin Hart, 9 o'clock. She nodded and picked up the phone. A minute later, Alden came out to meet me. He was older than I remembered, with gray hair and wire-rimmed glasses, but his handshake was firm. "Colin, good to see you. Come on back." His office was neat and organized, with file cabinets lining one wall and a desk covered in labeled folders. He gestured to a chair across from him and sat down. "So, you finally decided to follow up on your grandmother's estate?" "Yes." "Good. I've been trying to reach you for years. There are some things we need to clarify." He pulled out a thick folder with my name written on the tab and opened it. Inside were copies of the same documents I had found in the lockbox, along with others I had never seen before. "Your grandmother left the house to you," he said. "The title was transferred into your name when she passed away. Do you remember signing these papers?" I nodded slowly. "I remember signing something. Marjorie told me it was just a formality." "It was not a formality. It was a legal transfer of property. The house is yours, Colin. It has been yours for 8 years. I stared at him. But Marjorie said, "I don't know what your mother said, but legally the house belongs to you. Your grandmother made that very clear in her will. She did grant your mother something called a life estate, which means your mother has the right to live in the house as long as she wants. But that right is conditional. If she stops contributing to the upkeep, or if she interferes with your ownership, you can revoke it." My head was spinning. "What does that mean?" "It means you have more power here than you think. Your mother does not own the house. She cannot sell it. She cannot take out loans against it. And if you decide you want her to leave, you can make that happen." I sat back in the chair, trying to process what he was saying. "What about the bills, the taxes?" Alden flipped through the folder and pulled out another document. According to the county records, you've been paying the property taxes for the past 6 years. You've also been covering most of the utility bills. Your mother's name is on some of the accounts, but you're the primary payer. She told me she was taking care of it. She lied. The words hung in the air between us. I felt something cold settle in my chest. What can I do? I asked. Alden leaned back in his chair and folded his hands. That depends on what you want. If you want to keep living there and work things out with your mother, we can draft a formal agreement outlining everyone's responsibilities. But if you want to take control of the property and remove her from the equation, we can do that too. It will take some time and paperwork, but it's possible. I thought about the note on the counter, the photo from Hawaii, the caption about being free of burdens. What would I need to do? First, we need to gather all the documentation showing your financial contributions, utility bills, tax receipts, bank statements, anything that proves you've been maintaining the property. Then we file a petition to revoke your mother's life estate based on her failure to uphold her end of the agreement. We also update the county records to make it clear that you're the sole owner and decision maker. How long does that take? A few weeks, maybe a month. But once it's done, she has no legal claim to the house. I sat there for a long time, staring at the folder on his desk. Part of me wanted to walk out, to pretend I had never heard any of this, to go back to the way things were. But the other part of me, the part that had woken up on Thanksgiving morning to an empty house, knew I could not do that. I want to do it, I said. Alden nodded. All right, let's get started. I spent the rest of the morning in his office, going through documents and signing forms. He gave me a list of things to collect, copies of every bill I had paid, every tax statement, every bank record showing money going out of my account and into the house. When I left, I felt lighter. Not happy exactly, but clear. For the first time in years, I knew what I needed to do. At work the next day, Rick called me into his office. He was sitting behind his desk with his arms crossed, and he did not look happy. You missed Monday. I was sick. You didn't sound sick. I was. He stared at me for a moment, then leaned forward. You know what I think, Hart. I think you're getting lazy. I think you're taking advantage of the fact that we're short-staffed. And I think if you keep pulling stunts like this, I'm going to have to cut your hours. I looked at him, and for the first time, I did not feel the usual knot of fear in my stomach. I just felt tired. Okay, I said. Okay? That's all you have to say? Yes. He frowned, clearly expecting me to argue or apologize. When I did not, he waved me out of the office. In the workshop, Manny was waiting for me. He pulled me aside and lowered his voice. What's going on with you, man? You've been acting weird. I'm fine. You're not fine. You look like you're about to do something crazy. I almost laughed. Oh, crazy. Maybe it was crazy. Maybe walking away from the only life I had ever known was the craziest thing I could do. But it also felt like the only thing that made sense. I'm handling some stuff, I said. Personal stuff. Manny studied me for a moment, then nodded. All right. Just be careful, okay? I don't know what you're planning, but don't do anything stupid. I won't. That night, I went home and started packing. Not everything, just the important things, my tools, my clothes, the lockbox. I rented a storage unit on the other side of town and started moving things there, a little at a time so nobody would notice. Marjorie and the others were still in Hawaii. They would not be back for another 3 days. That gave me time. I spent those 3 days working quietly. I copied every bill, every receipt, every document Alden had asked for. I organized them into folders and labeled them carefully. I opened a new bank account in my name only and transferred my paychecks there. I changed the passwords on every online account connected to the house. And I waited. The bank was quiet on Tuesday afternoon. I sat across from a loan officer named Patricia, who pulled up my account history on her computer and frowned. Mr. Hart, it looks like you've been the primary payer on this mortgage for 6 years? Yes. And the property taxes? Also me. She scrolled through the records, her frown deepening. The account holder listed here is Marjorie Hart. Is that your mother? Yes. But you've been making the payments? Yes. She sat back in her chair and looked at me. Why? I did not have a good answer for that. Or maybe I did, but it was too long and complicated to explain to a stranger. So I just said, she told me it was my responsibility. Patricia stared at me for a moment, then shook her head. Mr. Hart, I'm going to be honest with you. Based on what I'm seeing here, you've been paying for a house that doesn't legally require your mother's permission to manage. If you're the title holder, you should have full control over the accounts. That's what I'm trying to fix. She nodded and started typing. All right, Let's get your name added as the primary account holder. We'll need some documentation, but it shouldn't take long." I handed her the folder Alden had prepared. She flipped through it, scanning the pages, and then nodded again. "This should work. Give me a few minutes." While she worked, I sat there and thought about how many hours I had spent in this building over the years. How many times I had stood in line to make a payment, watching the numbers in my account drop lower and lower, telling myself it was worth it because I was taking care of my family. My family. The people who had left me behind on Thanksgiving and posted photos about how much better their lives were without me. Patricia handed me a stack of forms to sign. I signed them without reading every word, trusting that Alden had already reviewed everything. When I finished, she printed out a new account summary and slid it across the desk. "You're all set. The account is in your name now. If anyone else tries to make changes, they'll need your authorization." "Thank you." I left the bank and drove to the storage unit. It was one of those big concrete buildings with rows of orange garage doors, all numbered and padlocked. Mine was Unit 47, at the far end of the second floor. I unlocked it and stepped inside. It was not much. A few boxes of tools, some clothes, the lockbox, a folding chair I had grabbed from the house, but it was mine. Nobody else had a key. Nobody else could take it away. I sat down in the chair and pulled out my phone. The family group chat was still blowing up with messages from Hawaii. Photos of beaches, videos of the kids playing in the pool, Marjorie posting about the best vacation ever. I scrolled through the messages without responding. Then I opened my conversation with Alden and sent him a message. "How much longer?" he replied a few minutes later. "Paperwork is almost done. Should be ready to file by Friday." Friday. That was the day they were coming back. I sat there for a long time, staring at the walls of the storage unit, thinking about what came next. Alden had explained the process to me in detail. Once the paperwork was filed, the county would update the records. Marjorie's life estate would be revoked based on her failure to contribute financially. The house would be mine, free and clear. But that was just the legal side. The harder part was what happened after. The conversations, the accusations, the guilt. I thought about Noah, my son, the kid I had worked myself half into the ground to support. Would he understand? Would he even care? Probably not. He had spent his entire life hearing Marjorie's version of events. The one where I was the disappointment, the load holding everyone back, the one they all resented. Changing his mind would take more than paperwork and county records. But I was done trying to change anyone's mind. I was done explaining myself. I was done apologizing for existing. At the factory the next day, Manny cornered me during lunch. We were sitting in the break room, and he kept glancing at me like he was trying to figure out a puzzle. "You're leaving, aren't you?" he said. I looked up from my sandwich. "What?" "You're leaving. The house, the job, all of it. You've got that look." "What look?" "The look people get when they're about to do something big. I've seen it before." I did not answer right away. I just chewed my sandwich and thought about how to explain it. "I'm making some changes," I said finally. "Good. You should. You've been getting stepped on for too long." "It's not that simple." "It is that simple. You're just scared to admit it." Maybe he was right. Maybe I was scared. But I was also angry and tired and done pretending that everything was fine. "I'll be okay," I said. Manny nodded. "Yeah, I think you will." That night, I went back to the house and walked through the rooms one last time. Everything was the way they had left it. Marjorie's knickknacks on the shelves, Noah and Lauren's clutter on the coffee table, the kids' drawings taped to the fridge. I stood in the kitchen and thought about all the meals I had eaten here, all the bills I had paid, all the repairs I had made. This house had been my entire life, and now I was about to walk away from it. No, not walk away. Take it back. I went to my room and finished packing. There was not much left, just a few books, some old photos, a jacket I had not worn in years. I loaded everything into my truck and drove back to the storage unit. On the way, I stopped at a furniture store and talked to a guy about moving services. He gave me a quote for clearing out a house and said he could have a crew ready in 2 days. "What are you moving?" he asked. "Everything that's mine." He raised an eyebrow but did not ask for details. "All right, we'll need an address and a time." I gave him the information and paid the deposit in cash. Then I drove to the storage unit and unloaded the last of my things. Friday morning, I met Alden at the courthouse. We walked through the lobby together, past lawyers in suits and families waiting for hearings, and stopped at the records office. Alden handed the clerk a thick folder of documents, and she stamped each page with a loud thunk. "All set," she said. "These will be processed by the end of the day." Alden shook my hand. "Congratulations, Colin. The house is officially yours." I nodded, but I did not feel like celebrating. I just felt numb. We walked back to the parking lot, and Alden paused before getting into his car. "Your mother is going to be upset," he said. "I know. She might try to fight this. Let her try." He studied me for a moment, then smiled. "Good luck." I drove back to the house and waited. The moving crew arrived at noon. They worked fast, loading boxes and furniture into the truck, clearing out everything I had marked as mine. By 2 o'clock, the house was half empty. I stood in the living room and looked around. The couch was gone. The television was gone. The dining table I had repaired twice was still there, but the chairs were gone. It looked strange. Hollow. I locked the front door behind me and dropped the keys into an envelope. Then I drove to Alden's office and left the envelope in his mailbox. On the way to my new apartment, I turned off my phone. I did not want to see the messages. I did not want to hear the calls. I just wanted silence. The apartment was small. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, a kitchen barely big enough to turn around in. The carpet was old and the walls were beige, but it was clean and quiet and mine. I spent the first night unpacking boxes and arranging furniture. I did not have much. A bed, a couch, a table, some dishes. It felt empty, but it also felt like a blank slate. On Saturday morning, I woke up and made coffee in my own kitchen. I sat at my own table and ate breakfast in silence. No kids yelling, no Marjorie complaining, no Noah and Lauren arguing about whose turn it was to do the laundry. It felt strange. Good strange. I kept my phone off all weekend. I did not want to know what was happening. I did not want to hear the panic or the anger or the accusations. I just wanted to exist in this small, quiet space and figure out who I was without them. On Monday morning, I turned the phone back on. 30 missed calls, 57 text messages, 12 voicemails. I scrolled through the notifications without opening any of them. Most were from Marjorie. Some were from Noah. A few were from Lauren. None of them said anything I wanted to hear. I made myself another cup of coffee and sat down at the table. Then I opened the first voicemail. Marjorie's voice was loud and sharp. "Colin, what the hell did you do? I came home and half the house is gone. You better call me back right now. Right now, Colin. This is my house. You can't just take things. Call me." The second voicemail was angrier. "I talked to the bank. They said you changed the accounts. How dare you? How dare you do this to me, after everything I've done for you, after I raised you and gave you a place to live? You ungrateful." I deleted it before she finished. The third voicemail was from Noah. He sounded confused more than angry. "Dad, what's going on? Mom is freaking out. She said you took a bunch of stuff and locked her out of the bank accounts. Is that true? Call me." I deleted that one too. The fourth voicemail was Marjorie again, but this time she was crying. "Colin, please, I don't understand. Why are you doing this? We're family. You can't just leave us like this. The bills are overdue. The taxes are overdue. I can't pay them without you. Please call me." I sat there staring at the phone, listening to her voice crack and break, and I felt nothing. No guilt, no sympathy, no urge to fix it, just nothing. I deleted the voicemail and moved on to the texts. Most of them were variations of the same thing. Marjorie demanding explanations, Noah asking what was happening, Lauren accusing me of ruining everything. One message stood out. It was from Noah, sent late Sunday night. "We don't have anywhere to go. The bank said we have to pay the mortgage or they'll start foreclosure. Mom can't afford it. Why are you doing this to us? To the kids?" I stared at that message for a long time. The kids, my grandkids. 4 little people who had never done anything wrong except exist in a house where everyone treated me like garbage. But they were not my responsibility. Not anymore. I put the phone down and finished my coffee. Then I called Alden. "They're calling," I said. "I figured they would. Have you responded?" "No." "Good. Don't. Let me handle it." "What do I say if they keep calling?" "Nothing. Block them if you have to. Or send one message explaining that all communication needs to go through me. Keep it short and unemotional." I thought about that. One message, short and unemotional. "All right." I hung up and opened the family group chat. I typed slowly, choosing each word carefully. "I'm not living in the house anymore. I'm not responsible for the bills or the mortgage. If you need to discuss anything related to the property, contact Alden Price. His number is in the county records. Don't contact me about money or housing. I won't respond." I hit send before I could second-guess myself. The responses came immediately. Marjorie. "How dare you?" Noah. "Are you serious right now?" Lauren. "You're really going to abandon your own family?" I muted the group chat and set my phone face down on the table. Then I got dressed, grabbed my keys, and drove to the factory. I clocked in for my shift and went straight to the workshop. Manny was already there, organizing tools. "You're back," he said. "Yeah." "How'd it go?" "It went." He looked at me for a moment, then nodded. "Good." We worked in silence for a while. It felt normal, comfortable, like nothing had changed, even though everything had. At lunch, Rick called me into his office. I expected another lecture about missed shifts or attitude problems, but instead, he just looked at me with this strange expression. "You all right, Hart?" "Yeah." "You seem different." "I'm fine." He frowned, like he was trying to figure out what had changed, but he did not push. He just waved me out of the office. That afternoon, I got a call from Alden. "Your mother came to my office," he said. "And?" "She's angry. She threatened to sue. She said you stole from her." "What did you tell her?" "I showed her the paperwork. I explained that the house has been in your name for 8 years and that she has no legal claim to it. She did not take it well." "What's she going to do?" "Probably nothing. She doesn't have the money for a lawyer, and even if she did, she'd lose. The documentation is airtight." I felt a weight lift off my chest. "Okay. Colin, I need to ask you something. Are you sure about this? Once you go down this road, there's no going back. Your relationship with your mother, with your son, it's going to be damaged, maybe permanently." I thought about Thanksgiving morning, the empty house, the note, the photo from Hawaii. "I'm sure." "All right, then we keep moving forward." Over the next few days, the calls and messages slowed down. Marjorie left one final voicemail, her voice cold and hard. "You're going to regret this, Colin. You're going to end up alone, with nobody who cares about you, and when that happens, don't come crawling back to me." I deleted it without listening to the whole thing. Noah sent one last text. "I thought you were better than this." I did not respond, and slowly the noise faded. The phone stopped buzzing. The group chat went quiet. The world moved on without them. I went to work. I came home. I cooked dinner in my own kitchen and ate at my own table. I watched television without anyone talking over it. I slept in my own bed without anyone waking me up at 3 a.m. It was quiet. It was simple. It was mine. And for the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. 5 days after I turned my phone back on, I was sitting in my apartment eating a bowl of cereal when it buzzed again. I glanced at the screen and saw Marjorie's name. I almost ignored it, but something made me pick it up. The voicemail was short. "Colin, we need to talk. Call me." I deleted it and went back to my cereal. An hour later, Noah called. I let it go to voicemail. Then Lauren called, then Noah again. I turned the phone off and went to work. At the factory, things were different. Rick had stopped giving me a hard time. He still barked orders and acted like he was in charge, but there was a shift in the way he looked at me, like he was not quite sure what to make of me anymore. Manny noticed it too. "Rick's been weird around you," he said one afternoon. "Yeah." "What did you do?" "Nothing." "Come on, man. You did something. He's scared of you now." I laughed. "He's not scared of me." "He is. I can tell. You've got that energy now, like you're not going to put up with anyone's nonsense." Maybe he was right. Maybe something had changed. I did not feel different exactly. I just felt clear, like I had finally figured out what I was willing to tolerate and what I was not. That night, I went back to my apartment and turned my phone on again. More missed calls, more messages. I scrolled through them without opening most of them, but one message caught my eye. It was from Noah, and it was longer than the others. "Dad, I don't understand what's happening. Mom said you kicked us out of the house. She said you took everything and left us with nothing. She said the bank is going to take the house and we're going to be homeless. Is that true? Why would you do that to us? To your grandkids?" I know things weren't perfect, but we're family. We're supposed to stick together. Please call me, please. I read the message 3 times. Then I called Alden. "They think I kicked them out," I said. "You didn't kick them out. You removed yourself from the financial equation. There's a difference." "They don't see it that way. That's their problem, not yours." "What happens to the house?" "That depends on them. If they can't pay the mortgage, the bank will foreclose. But that's not your responsibility. You paid for that house for years. You have no obligation to keep paying." "What about Noah? The kids?" Alden was quiet for a moment. "Colin, I understand this is hard, but you can't save people who refuse to take responsibility for themselves. Noah is an adult. He made choices. He has to live with the consequences. I knew he was right, but it still felt wrong. What if I... No, don't finish that sentence. You're not going back. You're not fixing this for them. You did that for years. And where did it get you? I hung up and sat there staring at the wall. The next day, Marjorie showed up at the factory. I was in the workshop when Rick came in and told me someone was at the front desk asking for me. I followed him out, and there she was, standing in the lobby with her arms crossed, looking older and smaller than I remembered. Colin, what are you doing here? We need to talk. No, we don't. Yes, we do. You can't just walk away from your family like this. I looked at her, and I felt that same cold clarity I had felt on Thanksgiving morning. I didn't walk away. You left me behind. That's not true. It is true. You've been treating me like I don't matter for years. You took my money, my time, my life, and you acted like I should be grateful for it. And then you went to Hawaii and left me a note like I was the house sitter. Her face turned red. I gave you a place to live. I raised your son. You owe me. I don't owe you anything. I paid for that house. I fixed that house. I supported that house. You didn't do any of that. You just lived there and acted like it was yours. It is mine. My mother left it to me. No, she left it to me. Check the records. She stared at me, her mouth opening and closing like she could not find the words. Then she turned and walked out. I went back to the workshop. My hands were shaking, but I felt lighter. Manny looked at me. You okay? Yeah. That was your mom? Yeah. She looked mad. She is. He did not say anything else. He just nodded and handed me a wrench. That night, I got a message from Alden. Your mother tried to file a complaint with the county. They rejected it. The paperwork is solid. You're in the clear. I read the message and felt something loosen in my chest. It was over. Legally, at least, it was over. But emotionally, I knew it was not. There would be more calls, more messages, more guilt trips and accusations, more attempts to pull me back into the role I had played for so long. I sent one final message to the family group chat. I'm not coming back. I'm not paying your bills. I'm not fixing your problems. If you want to talk to me, it has to be on my terms. Respectful, honest, equal. If you can't do that, then don't contact me. I hit send and then left the group chat. Then I blocked Marjorie's number. I blocked Lauren's number. I left Noah's unblocked just in case, but I muted the notifications. And then I put the phone down and walked away. Over the next few weeks, things settled into a routine. I went to work, I came home, I cooked dinner, I watched television, I read books, I slept. It was quiet. It was simple. It was lonely sometimes, but it was mine. Manny invited me to his house for dinner one night. His wife made tamales and we sat around the table with his kids, laughing and talking about nothing important. It felt good, normal. On the drive home, I thought about what family was supposed to be. I thought about the difference between the people who share your name and the people who actually care about you. And I realized I had spent my whole life confusing the two. When I got home, I checked my phone. There was one message from Noah. I don't know if you'll see this, but I've been thinking about what you said, about how we treated you. I think maybe you were right. I don't know if that changes anything, but I wanted you to know. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed a response. Thank you for saying that. I don't know if things can be fixed, but I appreciate you hearing me. I hit send and set the phone down. It was not forgiveness. It was not reconciliation. But it was something. And for now, that was enough. The weeks after I left turned into months, and the noise from my old life faded into something distant and small. I stopped checking the group chat. I stopped waiting for apologies that were never going to come. I just lived. Work got easier. Rick stopped micromanaging me, and I started taking on more complex repairs. The machines I had been maintaining for years suddenly felt less like obstacles and more like puzzles I actually enjoyed solving. I even got a small raise in late December, which I did not ask for but did not turn down either. When Rick handed me the paperwork, he did not make a big deal out of it. He just said, "You've been doing good work. Keep it up." It was the closest thing to a compliment I had ever gotten from him. Manny and I grabbed lunch together most days, usually at the diner down the street from the factory. We talked about normal things, sports, movies, his wedding plans. He stopped asking me if I was okay because he could see that I was. Sometimes he would mention something about family or the holidays, and I would change the subject, but he never pushed. He understood boundaries in a way most people did not. The apartment stayed small and plain, but I made it better over time. I bought a decent couch at a thrift store, a dark gray sectional that was worn but comfortable. I hung a few pictures on the walls, mostly landscapes I found at a discount store. Nothing fancy, just something to make the space feel less empty. I set up a workbench in the corner near the window where I could tinker with small projects in the evenings. Old radios, broken clocks, things people threw away that still had life in them if you knew how to look. It was not much, but it was starting to feel like home. My home. Not a place I was borrowing or a space I had to earn, just mine. Noah texted me every few weeks. Short messages, nothing heavy. Hope you're doing okay? Saw a truck like yours today? The kids asked about you. I replied sometimes, kept it simple. I'm good. Thanks. Tell them I said hi. I did not ask about Marjorie. I did not ask about the house. I did not want to know. That part of my life was over, and I had no interest in reopening old wounds just to see if they still hurt. But one night in late January, Noah called. I almost did not pick up, but something in my gut told me to answer. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the part of me that still remembered him as a baby, small and helpless, depending on me for everything. Hey, I said. Hey, Dad. We sat in silence for a moment. I could hear kids yelling in the background, and I wondered where he was living now. Not the big house with the extra bedrooms and the yard. Somewhere smaller, somewhere temporary. I need to tell you something, he said finally. Okay. We lost the house. I did not say anything, I just waited. I had known this was coming. Alden had mentioned it in passing a few weeks ago. The foreclosure process had been moving forward, and there was nothing Marjorie could do to stop it. But hearing it from Noah made it real in a way the legal paperwork had not. The bank foreclosed, Noah continued. We couldn't make the payments. Mom tried to fight it, but yeah, it's gone. Where are you staying? Lauren's parents. It's temporary. We're looking for our own place, but it's tight right now. 4 kids and 2 adults in a 3-bedroom house. It's not ideal. I'm sorry. Are you? The question caught me off guard. What? Are you sorry? Or are you glad we got what we deserved? I thought about that. Was I glad? No. I did not take any pleasure in knowing my grandkids were crammed into someone else's house, sharing rooms and living out of suitcases. I did not enjoy imagining Marjorie losing the place she had spent so many years pretending to own, the place she had used as a weapon against me for most of my life. But I was not sorry either. Not in the way he wanted me to be. Not in the way that would make me rush back and try to fix everything. I'm sorry you're going through this, I said carefully. But I'm not sorry I left. Noah was quiet for a long time. I could hear him breathing on the other end of the line, and I wondered what he was thinking. If he was angry, if he understood, if he even cared. Yeah, he said finally. I get that. Do you? I think so. I've been thinking about it a lot. About how we treated you, how Mom treated you. I don't think I realized how bad it was until you were gone. It's like, when you were there, you were just part of the background. The guy who fixed things and paid bills. I never thought about what that meant. What it cost you. I did not know what to say to that, so I just said, okay. I'm not asking you to come back, Noah said quickly. I know that's not going to happen. I'm not stupid. But I wanted you to know that I get it now. And I'm sorry. For all of it. For treating you like you didn't matter. For letting Mom run you into the ground. For not standing up for you when I should have. The words hit me harder than I expected. I had spent so long waiting for someone to acknowledge what had happened. To see me as something other than a tool or a burden. And now that it was finally happening, I did not know how to feel. Relief, anger, vindication, all of it mixed together into something I could not name. Thanks, I said. That means something. Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to call. Let you know we're okay. Well, not okay, but, we're managing. I know. Take care, Dad. You too. I hung up and sat there in the dark, staring at the phone. The screen dimmed and then went black, and I just kept staring at it. I did not cry. I did not feel relief or anger or forgiveness. I just felt tired. Like I had been carrying something heavy for a long time and had finally set it down, but my arms still ached from the weight of it. At work the next day, Rick called me into his office. I expected another complaint or another veiled threat to cut my hours, but instead, he just looked at me with a strange expression. Not quite respect, but something close to it. Hart, I'm moving you to day shift supervisor. I stared at him. What? You heard me. You're good at what you do, better than most of the people I've got. I need someone who can keep the machines running and manage the team. That's you. I'm not. You are. Don't argue with me. You start Monday." I walked out of his office in a daze. Manny caught me in the hallway and grinned. Told you Rick was scared of you." "He's not scared of me." "Whatever, man. Congrats. You deserve it." I spent the weekend thinking about the promotion. It was not a huge jump. Just a little more responsibility, a little more pay, but it felt like proof of something. Proof that I was not the failure Marjorie had always said I was. Proof that I could stand on my own. Proof that walking away had been the right choice, even when it felt like the hardest thing I had ever done. On Monday, I started the new position. It was awkward at first. Some of the guys did not like taking orders from me. They were used to me being quiet, staying in the background, fixing things without making noise. Now I was the one telling them what to do, and they did not know how to handle it. But I kept my head down and did the work. I was fair, I was consistent, I did not play favorites or abuse the authority. And eventually, they came around. Manny joked that I was turning into a different person. "You're like a whole new guy," he said one afternoon while we were calibrating a pressure sensor. "It's weird. I'm the same." "No, you're not. You're better. You stand up straighter. You look people in the eye. You don't take garbage from anyone anymore. It's like you finally figured out who you are." Maybe he was right. Maybe I was better. Or maybe I was just finally becoming the person I should have been all along. The person my grandmother had believed I could be before Marjorie spent years convincing me I was nothing. In March, I got a letter from Alden. It was short and professional, letting me know that all the legal matters related to the house had been resolved. Marjorie had no claim to the property, and the foreclosure had cleared any remaining debts. The chapter was closed. There were no loose ends, no legal battles waiting in the wings. It was over. I read the letter twice, then folded it and put it in a drawer. I did not feel triumphant. I did not feel vindicated. I just felt done, like I had walked through a fire and come out the other side, burned but alive. That night, I made dinner and ate it at my table. Spaghetti with sauce from a jar, nothing fancy. I watched a movie on my laptop, some action film I had seen before but did not mind watching again. I went to bed early and slept without dreaming. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like my life was actually mine. Spring came slowly. The weather warmed up, and I started running in the mornings before work. It was something I had never done before, but I liked the way it cleared my head. I liked the feeling of pushing my body and knowing it would respond. At the factory, things were running smoothly. The team respected me now, or at least they did not fight me on every decision. Rick left me alone most days, which was the best I could ask for. Manny got engaged. He invited me to the engagement party, and I went. It was the first social event I had been to in years. I felt awkward at first, standing in the corner with a beer, but people came up and talked to me. They asked about work. They asked about my apartment. Nobody asked about my family, which I appreciated. On the drive home, I thought about how different my life looked now. 6 months ago, I had been living in a house full of people who did not care about me. Now I was alone, but I was not lonely. I had friends. I had a job I was good at. I had a future that was actually mine to shape. In April, Noah texted me again. "Hey, I know this is random, but the kids want to see you. Would you be okay with that?" I stared at the message for a long time. The kids? My grandkids. I had not seen them since Thanksgiving. I did not even know what they looked like now. "When?" I typed. "Whenever works for you. We could meet at a park or something. Keep it casual." I thought about it. Part of me wanted to say no, to keep the distance I had worked so hard to create. But another part of me, the part that still remembered reading bedtime stories and fixing broken toys, wanted to see them. Saturday afternoon, Commons Park, 2 o'clock. "Okay, thanks, Dad." On Saturday, I showed up early and sat on a bench near the playground. I watched families playing, kids running around, parents chasing after them. It looked normal, happy. Noah showed up right on time with all 4 kids. They looked bigger than I remembered. The oldest, a girl named Fina, was almost 10 now. The youngest, a boy named Tyler, was barely 5. "Hey," Noah said. "Hey." The kids stood behind him, shy and uncertain. Fina waved at me. The others just stared. "Go play," Noah told them. "We'll be right here." They ran off toward the swings, and Noah sat down next to me on the bench. "Thanks for coming," he said. "Yeah." We sat in silence for a while, watching the kids play. It felt strange. Not bad, just strange. "They miss you," Noah said. "Do they?" "Yeah. They ask about you sometimes, where you are, why you don't come over anymore." "What do you tell them?" "I tell them you moved, that you're busy. I don't know what else to say. I nodded. That's fine. Mom doesn't talk about you, he said. Ever. It's like you don't exist. That's probably easier for her. Yeah, probably. We watched Fina push Tyler on the swing. He was laughing, his legs kicking out in front of him. I don't hate you, Noah said suddenly. I know it might seem like I do, but I don't. I don't know how to fix this. You don't have to fix it. But we're family. Family is more than just sharing a last name, I said. Family is how you treat each other. And for a long time, you guys treated me like I didn't matter. Noah looked down at his hands. I know. I'm not asking you to apologize again. I'm not asking you to make up for it. I just need you to understand that I can't go back to the way things were. I won't. I get that. We sat there for a while longer, not talking, just watching the kids. Eventually, Fina ran over and asked if I wanted to push her on the swing. I said yes, and she grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the playground. I spent the next hour playing with the kids, pushing swings, catching them at the bottom of the slide, listening to them talk about school and cartoons and their friends. It felt good. Normal. When it was time to go, Fina hugged me. Tyler waved. The other two just smiled. Can we do this again? Fina asked. I looked at Noah. He nodded. Yeah, I said. We can do this again. On the drive home, I thought about what it meant to rebuild. Not the house, not the relationships, just the idea of family. Maybe it did not have to look the way it used to. Maybe it could be smaller, simpler, more honest. That night, I texted Noah. Thanks for today. The kids are great, he replied a few minutes later. Thanks for coming. It meant a lot. I set the phone down and made dinner. As I ate, I thought about how far I had come. 6 months ago, I had been invisible. Now I was seen. Not by everyone, but by the people who mattered. And that was enough. By summer, I had settled into a rhythm. Work, running, occasional dinners with Manny and his fiancée, visits with the kids every other weekend. It was not a perfect life, but it was mine. Marjorie never reached out. I heard through Noah that she had moved in with a friend and was working part-time at a grocery store. He did not say much about her, and I did not ask. Lauren, Noah's wife, was a different story. She still refused to talk to me. Noah said she blamed me for everything, for the foreclosure, for the instability, for the way their life had fallen apart. I did not argue. I did not care. In July, I got a promotion. Not a big one, just a step up to lead supervisor. More pay, more responsibility. Rick shook my hand and told me I had earned it. You're not the same guy I hired 10 years ago, he said. No, I'm not. Good. That guy was a pushover. I laughed. It was the first time Rick had ever joked with me. At home, I started making plans. Small plans. Things I wanted to do, places I wanted to go. I had spent so many years living for other people that I had forgotten what it was like to have my own goals. I signed up for a welding class at the community college. I had always wanted to learn, but I had never had the time or money. Now I had both. I bought a decent camera and started taking photos on my runs. Nothing fancy, just landscapes and buildings and the way light hit the pavement in the early morning. It was something to do, something that was mine. In August, Noah invited me to his new apartment. It was small, but it was clean and organized. The kids had their own room. Noah and Lauren had their own space. It looked like a fresh start. Lauren did not talk to me when I arrived. She just nodded and disappeared into the bedroom. Noah shrugged. She'll come around eventually, he said. Maybe. We sat in the living room and drank coffee while the kids played. It felt normal, comfortable, like we were building something new. I got a job, Noah said. Warehouse supervisor. It's not much, but it's steady. That's good. Yeah, we're getting there, slowly. I nodded. That's all you can do. Before I left, Fina hugged me and asked if I would come back next week. I said yes. On the drive home, I thought about forgiveness. I had not forgiven Marjorie. I did not think I ever would. But with Noah, it was different. He had apologized. He had changed. He was trying. That was enough. Autumn came fast. The leaves turned gold and red, and the air got crisp. I kept running in the mornings, pushing myself harder, going farther. I liked the way it made me feel. Strong, capable, alive. At work, things were good. The team ran like a machine, and I was proud of that. Rick even complimented me in front of the regional manager, which was something I never thought I would see. Manny got married in October. I was invited to the wedding, and I went. I stood in the back and watched him say his vows, and I felt happy for him. He deserved it. At the reception, he pulled me aside and asked how I was doing. "Good," I said. "You look different, happier." "I am. Good. You deserve it, man." I thought about that word, deserve. For so long, I had felt like I did not deserve anything. Not respect, not happiness, not a life of my own. But somewhere along the way, I had started to believe differently. In November, Noah invited me to Thanksgiving dinner. I almost said no. The memories from last year were still too fresh. But Fina called me and asked in her sweet, hopeful voice, and I could not say no to her. I showed up with a pie I had bought from the store. Lauren answered the door and looked at me for a long moment before stepping aside. "Come in," she said. It was not warm, but it was not hostile either. The apartment smelled like turkey and stuffing. The kids were running around, excited and loud. Noah was in the kitchen, trying to keep everything from burning. I sat at the table and watched them. It was chaotic and messy and imperfect, but it was real. Lauren sat down across from me. She did not say anything for a while, just picked at her napkin. "Thank you for coming," she said finally. "Thanks for inviting me." "Noah said I should talk to you, said I've been holding on to too much anger." "You have a right to be angry." "Maybe, but it's not helping anyone." I did not know what to say to that, so I just nodded. "I'm not going to apologize for everything," she said. "But I'm sorry we made you feel like you didn't matter. That wasn't right." "Thank you." We did not say anything else, but it was a start. Dinner was loud and chaotic. The kids talked over each other. Noah burned the rolls. Lauren spilled gravy on the table. It was nothing like the Thanksgivings I remembered from my childhood, the ones where Marjorie controlled everything and everyone walked on eggshells. This was better. After dinner, I helped Noah clean up. We stood at the sink, washing dishes in silence. "I'm glad you came," he said. "Me too." "Do you think things can be normal again, between us?" I thought about that. Normal. What did that even mean? "I don't think things will ever be the way they were," I said. "But maybe that's okay. Maybe we can build something new." "Yeah, I'd like that." I left around 8. Fina hugged me at the door and made me promise to come back soon. I said I would. On the drive home, I thought about how different this Thanksgiving was from last year. Last year, I had woken up alone in an empty house, feeling small and invisible. This year, I had woken up in my own apartment, made my own breakfast, and then driven to a dinner where people actually wanted me there. It was not perfect. It was not the fairy tale ending people talk about in movies. But it was real, and it was mine.